Good evening. I'd like to call the Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025 Commission meeting to order for the City of Pittsburgh. Please join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to invite Pastor Chambers down to open us up with some words of inspiration.
May we pray. Father, we thank you that we can come together again this evening to discuss the future of our city and the business at hand. Bless our commissioners tonight and their decisions, and bless our city workers. And Father, we ask a special blessing upon all of our city workers who are having to work in this unbearable heat, and all the other people that are doing things behind the scenes in our city, building things, being outdoors. We just ask your protection upon them. Be with our homeless and be with those who are in need. Watch over all those who have been going through tragedies, through floods and extreme heat, fires, wildfires, all the things that have been happening. Father, we ask your blessings upon them, to bless the families that have lost loved ones. Continue blessing our city. Give us a great future, and may we continue to work hard to make this a place for people to feel welcome, and that we definitely can be safe. We ask these things in your holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Mark. Just to let everybody know, Commissioner Sigley is joining us via the phone. I would open up public input. If you have something to share, please state your name, address, and limit your remarks to 3 minutes or less. Come on down.
Hi, good evening. My name is Junior Ramirez. I live at 715 West 9th Street here in Pittsburgh, Kansas. I'm here today because I came on behalf of a community to speak for a community that loves this wonderful game that we all enjoy on our days off, on our time off. We would just like to bring up the fact that there has been nothing to move forward here in Pittsburgh for soccer fields. There is no safe place. There is no community that we can build off of, because there is no place to go except PSU right now, which we have to share that with multiple people. It gets pretty hard, pretty hectic, and we would like to see a safe place where kids, adults, and just the community can come out, have fun. And, you know, soccer brings people together. I'd like to just see maybe a Schiffer-Decker complex built here in Pittsburgh, Kansas. It would help the community out tremendously. If you guys refer to a post made by the Parks and Recs on June 16th, the community has been speaking out on what they want to see here in Pittsburgh. As you don't only have to take my word for it, there is multiple people that are seeking to get fields built here in Pittsburgh, Kansas.
Great, thank you. All right, anyone else? All right, seeing none, we'll close public input and move into the consent agenda. We will take off item D as in dog. So is there a motion to approve A, B, C, E, F, G?
Move to approve those items.
Second.
Moved by Stu, seconded by Cheryl. Roll call vote. Brooks?
Yes.
Height,
Yes.
McNay,
Yes.
Munson,
Yes.
Sigley.
Yep.
Item D, approval of staff recommendation to award the bid for the 2025 mill overlay and pavement marking project to Emery Sapp and Sons for their bid base plus add alternate 1, 2, and 3 in the amount of $1,671,400. Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry.
That's your cue, Matt.
Take over.
Oops. Spam. $1,671,439.73, and authorize the mayor and the city clerk to execute the contract documents once prepared.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners.
Matt?
I'm the one that asked it to be pulled off. I don't have a problem with approving it. I was hoping you could give us some insight into when it might start, when it might be finished, and a little bit about the proposal.
Yep, so tonight, so the base bid of this project is the mill and overlay of Ford, Centennial, South Rouse from the end of the Quincy Street project back through the intersection, as well as what's known as the Fieldcrest neighborhood and a little bit of Messenger Circle right there. That is the baseline of this bid to be done. The other parts of it, we had 3 add alternates. Those add alternates included some additional pavement striping of intersections, major intersections like 20th and Broadway, 23rd and Joplin, just around town, Atkinson, a few different things with a multi-component paint. So what we put down as a staff, we have a waterborne paint machine. We're actually going to go to a multi-component, which usually this is what we typically do when we do Broadway. Those usually last for 5 to 7 years, depending on environmental conditions, but they last longer. They're more reflective, a better mix. So we're going to go ahead and add those as an add alternate. The second add alternate was to do our mainline striping, some of our long stretches, say on South or on Rouse and Atkinson and some of that, to do the mainline striping. And then the third add alternate was for some additional streets that Lonnie had asked for to be milled, so that our crews could go ahead and overlay those streets as well. So that's the basis of the entire bid that we're asking for tonight on that award, plus the additional streets.
How soon would it start if approved?
So Emory Sap submitted their bid to start on September 15th of this year with a 90 working day contract. So hopefully we should be able to still make our weather window and get all this fit in is our goal. So we had 4 bids, all competitive. A couple of them didn't want to start till next April just because of workloads, and that's kind of been a challenge. But we had four competitive bids. We're pretty happy with.
It should be done this fall then, early fall,
That's the goal.
hopefully.
And we've used Emory Sap before, yeah.
Yep.
And just to be noted, this is in addition to what the good work the city crews are doing already.
Yeah, so a couple projects that Lonnie and his crew, they got out of the gate early this year, and then it rained, so we kind of got delayed a little bit, but his crews, if you've been in the southwest part of Pittsburgh, Kansas Street, Forest Street, these darker highlighted blue lines, as well as Catalpa and a little bit on Pine, they've been wrapping that up. Our crews do a lot more work in that area because you got a lot of driveways, drainage, cross sections. They just take a lot more time, a lot more handwork. So they've been really working on those. They're turning out real nice. Lonnie and his crews do a great job. And then we also, right now, we are over in the Potletzer, Lindbergh, Pine, and Hudson area. Today they just laid the first lift on Hudson. Got that. That's kind of been set and wide open since it rained, but they got the first lift on that, so that's where they're working. And then we're aiming for a couple other streets later on yet this year. We're going to try and squeeze in, but I don't want to let the cat out of the bag on that yet.
Matt, I know you guys have been doing a lot of work, and it would have been great if all this could be done before school starts.
That's what everybody says.
And I was just wondering, once the buses start running, you coordinate with 250?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And in fact, I talked to 250 about it 2 weeks ago. Let them know it was coming down the pipe, what we were looking at. But they'll be able to. Any of the contractors are going to work with that. I mean, the good news is Centennial, Rouse, Ford. They're all 4-lane roads. They'll be able to shift around, so we'll be all right.
All right,
I would move to approve item D.
I second it.
Moved by Stu, seconded by Chuck. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, moving on to special presentations. A, 5-year financial forecast. City Manager Darren Hall will provide information regarding the city's 5-year financial forecast.
Jay's gonna join me if it's all right. He's gonna stand, I'm just gonna sit here if that's okay. So, my first note says, if you'll turn to page 3 in your budget, which I just took most of your budgets back because we had a change, so we're printing new budgets and they're on their way over before we talk about the budget. But what page 3 is basically is the budget calendar. And so, today on the budget calendar, is it in what you, it's not in the 5-year, is it, Jay? We can't pull it up there, can we? I'll go from memory. Basically, today is the day that we'll present the 5-year forecast as well as the city staff submitted budget. And then over the course of the next few weeks, we'll publish a hearing date, and we'll have a hearing on August 12th, I believe. And then I think the budget gets adopted sometime in September.
September 9th.
September 9th. So one of the first things that we had to do, we presented to you on Cinco de Mayo at our work session, the 5-year forecast that we're going to present to you today. We've got some better information since that time, so I wanted to bring to your attention a couple things you're going to see in here. We've added the assessed valuation that we received.
Yes? Sorry.
I'm done signing off.
All right, thanks, Ron.
Okay, bye-bye.
So we've received the county's valuation numbers in June, so that we've incorporated that into this forecast. We recommended in May 2% raises, looking at revenues, and with the inflation still about 2.7, 2.8%, we thought that we should try to get 3% raises in, so the forecast will reflect the 3% raises instead of 2% raises for 2026. And then we've also had a 15% sewer charge. We've kind of been building up to this for 3 or 4 years with the plant going under construction this year. And we wanted to have enough money to not only pay for it, but kind of even out our debt service for the next 20 years as we pay debt for that project. We've been fortunate, 2 things have changed. The state actually has changed the law, so now you can use that loan and pay it back over 30 years instead of 20, which keeps the debt service level down. And our first payment now isn't due until 2028. So the recommendation of a 15, this was, the plan was always to keep the rates to a no more than a 30% rate increase one time that we thought we were gonna need for this plant. As of May 5th, we told you we thought we could get it at 15%, and it'd be a one-time, and then 3% every year after that. But after going through the numbers 2 nights ago with Jay as we prepared, we're going to recommend just doing the 3% that we do with all the other utilities for the cost of living and kind of ride out that debt schedule and see if we can't make it work the way it is. So that's the other big change in here, and that's one of the reasons the budget is currently getting printed and coming in, because we don't want to post, we want to post the most accurate submitted budget tomorrow on the website for people to look at for 6 weeks. So
What does that 3% generate a year?
per fund, wow,
That's, I don't have that number in my hand. 3% for 9 million, about 300.
I think it's several hundred thousand, but
Actually, it's about 300,000.
And we've been doing that for how many years now?
well, at least the last 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So we've got a little bit of money.
Yeah, we're gonna show you that.
In fact, we're going to show you that.
That's, the forecast today will be, hopefully it won't be exhaustive, but I hope somebody finds it interesting other than Jay and I, but, it has all of that in it. But it will reflect that 3% instead of that 15%. So I wanted to bring that to your attention because that's something different than we presented to you, on May 5th. Other than that, I guess we can fire it up. The first section is just, how we do it, why we do it. Then we recap the working day from 2024, which is kind of moot at this point because we're talking about the 2026 budget. The revenues, so this is our pie chart. You can see the first thing that jumps out is the revenues are $45,784,000. The budget's $70 million. The difference there are reserves are about $22 million, and they're broken up between a variety of funds. It sounds like a lot of money, but when you have Matt's talking about the street fund, it has its own reserve fund in it. We can only use it to do streets, and we can only do as many streets as we can get to in a year. So that money breaks out. About $4 million of that is general fund, but the rest is transfers. That's the difference. But it's a pretty well balanced, and we'll kind of take a real quick run through some of these. The property tax, obviously this is our ad valorem tax. I am gonna have a little trouble reading it because I was up all night, but it looks like the main takeaway here, for next year's budget, we're looking at about a 7% increase when you compare apples to apples. Part of that, half of that is new growth, which in and of itself is up about 2.5 times what it was last year in the budget. which is a sign of progress. And then the other big one is remodeling, and remodels are up about almost 2 times what they were in last year's budget. So that makes about 3.5% of that. The other 3.5% is just all of our property that we own in Pittsburgh. Is the county said that it's going to go up 3.5% as well. This is a line that just kind of shows the trend. Obviously, this is a good thing to have. When I first got here, this trend line was still going down as a result of the Great Recession in '08, and we finally turned the corner. But I think this is nominal growth for us, and it basically reflects inflation and the cost of living. Probably one of the most useful tables in here. This is by year valuation, overall valuation, then the general fund mill rate, and then the dollars that are generated off of that mill rate. So in 2018, you're looking at 128 million. Jump to 2026, there's $177 million worth of assessed valuation property in our community. The good news is the general fund mill rate was 36.961 in 18. It's still 36.951. It's actually a little less. It varies every year based on the county finally determining how much they collected for the year and setting it. But no mill rate increase. We've always tried to live off of the growth in evaluation and the growth in new businesses coming to our town and growing, and we've all seen that. So that's good news. This is a breakout of the actual mill rate. One thing that's missing in here is the state's mill. This year they decided to take their 1.5 mills off, and hopefully it's because Blake was up there lobbying them. But that's something that I think was the one part of the property tax that they thought they controlled. So they took that out. The rest of it's pretty even. It's 53, 50, 46. And then, of course, you've got the Wildcat extension, which is always in there, and it's important. So this is just a real quick look. One of the questions we always try to answer every year is everybody's house is worth something different, everybody's boat and their cars, but for a $100,000 piece of property, whether it was a house or whatever, what would the taxes generate? This is a consistent slide because basically every year, in order to determine what somebody's going to pay on their property tax, you take the $100,000, you multiply it. If it's residential, it's by 11.5%. If it's commercial, which is the chart below it, it's times 25%. And then you multiply it by the mill rate divided by 1,000, which in this case would be, and so it's about 0.051. You do that math, you take it out, and Jay, you're going to have to help me because I can't squint that far.
About $1,700, $1,780.
So if your house is worth $300,000, you can triple that number.
But I think this is worth talking about too.
Yeah, so the growth and assessed valuation for existing, why don't you talk about it, because honestly.
Sure, yeah,
I can't really.
So one of the questions that probably should be asked is because of the assessed value that's happening in it, if you own a house right now, what's going to be the impact on your taxes from the increase in the assessed value of your house, all right? So if you have a $100,000 house, and again, you can multiply this any way you like, it's about $20,000 a year, or $20 per year, all right, is the difference, based on the assessed value increase that has been assessed to existing properties, all right? So if for commercial property, it's $43 a year. So that's the amount that's happening to Crawford County residents based on the increased valuation that they assessed.
That makes sense. It's a little mathy.
This is the same thing on commercial properties. But of course, there's
Once again, that rate's 25% of your property's worth is multiplied instead of 11.5. And that's set by the state. This is a great chart. So this is for the last 5 years. This is the mill levy broken out by basically jurisdiction. So not jurisdiction, but by fund. Our general fund, which is police and fire, is the blue line. It's constant over time. I think it's pink. It may be orange, but
it's orange.
It's orange. The orange is our debt levy. So out of our property tax, we try to keep our debt levy consistent every year, usually between 7 and 9 mils. And then we will, as we retire debt, we'll put more debt on with always the idea that we're just keeping it, so we don't eat into the mill that's going to police from fire and administration. And then on the green is the library. We show the library in our numbers because it is a taxable jurisdiction locally, but we don't oversee the library's operation, and they have their own endowment fund and basically take care of their stuff. But we do help them with payroll and things.
So why is their mill going down? Do you know? The libraries?
The same reason as ours is. It's adjusted based on what the assessed value is.
Okay.
The county provides us those numbers. We don't, and it's based on how much you're spending versus what the mills are bringing in, and they make the adjustments.
So the county sets the valuation in June, but they don't finalize it against our budget until December. And they take into account anybody that's challenged if you get a notice from the county and you don't like what it says, you can go to the county and challenge that. And then there's also just more property that comes and goes. So the county will adjust that number, and so we don't actually see that, but that's what that fine tuning of that number is every year. If it was every year we put the budget together like this year, we just used the exact same mill rate that we had last year. But it will be tweaked by the county before the year's over and set at the final value that will generate enough property tax for us to pay for the budget that we presented. Questions on that, Don? You're still kind of going back and forth. It's a good question.
I'll talk a little bit about sales taxes. Sales taxes a while ago, became the largest source of revenue for the city. But of course, and our sales tax rate is 9%, which is actually slightly less than when we first got here. But you can see that how that is broken down. Pittsburgh's rate is 1.5%, state of Kansas is 6.5%, and Crawford County charges 1%. Those are for sales within the city limits of Pittsburgh. Right? Of course, we have some exceptions for some specific districts that have agreed to tax the purchases in their area for specific purposes. That's where Northgate and the town center, which is where the Home Depot is. The sales taxes in Pittsburgh are spoken for. They're approved by the voters for specific purposes, right? We have a half a cent sales tax for public safety and street maintenance. Those both have expiration dates. Those were approved for 10-year terms, and if we want to continue those, they'll have to be renewed. The public safety in 33 and the street maintenance in 31. All right. The other sales taxes for economic development, capital outlay, and memorial auditorium are ongoing. And those will continue unless they are rescinded by the taxpayers. The total again is 1.5 or 1.5 cents. I think it is important to point out that Pittsburgh is allowed to charge up to 2% for sales within its jurisdiction. We have not chosen to exercise that other half cent. So there is a half cent of sales tax that is not charged. It has not been allocated. You can kind of see how they're allocated right now, how much they bring in.
So any increase in our sales tax, regardless of what it's for, would need to go to the voters? Is that a true statement?
Yes. That's,
Okay.
if the rate, the sales tax rate, right. Just to kind of give you some perspective on the sales tax collections, the green line is the actual collections and the projections. The dotted line is the trend line that goes there. We try to make sure our projections are below the trend line for the future years. So. But again, strong sales tax growth. Pittsburgh has, particularly in recent years, we were flat in sales tax last year after growing in a healthy way for the previous years, but we're starting to see again this year, we're already up over 9% in sales tax for the current year. So we feel very strongly that Pittsburgh has been recognized as a place where you can come and do some shopping. I think some of you have heard me talk about our trade pull factor in the past. What that essentially means is that we have a trade pull factor of 1 is appropriate for the size of your city. We have a trade pull factor of almost 1.8, and that means that almost every other purchase in Pittsburgh is coming from somebody outside of Pittsburgh. So we are a retail destination. Franchise tax is less exciting. We tend to project those as flat. But you'll notice in '26, we do have like a one-time increase projected. The data center that's going on at the airport, we expect that to give us a one-time ratchet increase in our franchise taxes going forward. So there's a bit more income coming in from that franchise.
And what's not in there is the phone. I mean, the
Well,
phone
Yeah, the
Basically
phone is a little sliver there.
becomes
you
a
know.
line.
Yeah,
That's just not quite the revenue generator that it once was due to all the.
that's on landlines.
Yeah.
Yeah, not too many landlines these days.
Another thing that's not in there, which isn't covered, is streaming, which we hear about a lot because there's no franchise on streaming services, and that's obviously kind of taken a big bite out of the cable franchises.
Just like cell phones have done to landlines.
Yeah, exactly. It's just,
The utility revenues have been consistently strong. There, of course, was a bump when we created the sanitation department in '24. So there was an increase in that sense. But in general, we also have been increasing utility rates to keep track of inflation. You'll see these, with the exception, of course, of the sanitation increase, which is a brand-new utility for us. Those are essentially inflationary increases that we've given over the years. Part of the goal was to build up a fund, a surplus, so that we could help pay for the wastewater treatment plant. And you'll see, we'll talk about that a little bit more. You wanna talk about
so expenditures, the other side of the coin, revenues is critical, and you can't spend anything you don't collect, but this is how we spend our money. I think, once again, the pie chart's just probably the easiest way to look at really what's going on. The blue is personnel services. We basically have a city that's full of men and women who go out, and we give them tools and equipment and responsibilities, and they go out and take care of stuff and work on roads and collect our money and make sure the water's coming and the sewer's going away. And in most of the organizations that I've been associated with over my 40 years, 40% is kind of the threshold right there for what personnel services are. And nowadays with the increased cost of health insurance and obviously the pressure on salaries, it's a little bit more than 40%, but I think it's our employees are completely worth it. This is just a real quick way to look at, the city has, $40 million, $50 million to spend. What do they spend it on? This is the allocation by purpose, so this is irregardless of fund. This is irregardless of what tax it is that comes in. This is how we spend the money. The big blue line on the left is public utilities, so that means we're doing everything we can to provide clean, safe water and take the sewer away as well as we can. We also have included a trash utility now, and that's part of moving the solid waste stream. So that's no surprise that that's the biggest percent. And then obviously right behind that is the public safety. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
My glasses aren't down to 2020 apparently. Public safety, which as you know, that's police and fire. And I think this community has supported police and fire in a great way over the last 15 years. Specifically with the public safety sales tax, which has enhanced what we do. But in combination with the county and Pitt States, I think we have a very safe community. And then as you move down, you can see community development, and then you've got your, what does that say, streets and highways. And then, you obviously, debt service is a big one. Debt service kind of goes along with public works and public safety because that's a lot of the projects that could be in there, or we sell bonds for and we pay debt with. But as you work your way down, you got parks, which Toby's in the room, so he obviously wants to have the biggest blue line out of anybody. But I think we do a great job with our parks. In any community, for the most part, a lot of the parks are paid for by the counties because it's just so expensive to have a nice park system. We're fortunate for the ones that we do have in Pittsburgh, and I think we allocate a generous amount, and they're really supplemented by the philanthropic community and all the generous donations for doing a lot of those. And then you have the health insurance and public library at the end.
One of the things we did make a change in the forecast was the debt service section. That's to reflect, we obviously took out some debt for, which we're going to talk, for the for the,
Eagle Picture.
well, for Eagle, we took out debt for Eagle Picture, we took out, but that's gonna be paid for through Eagle Picture. We also took out debt for the new fire truck, as well as new trash truck. And of course, the big one was, we took out a large loan from KDH&E for the wastewater treatment plant. So that service, we wanted to make sure all that was updated, and we spent some time, and by we, I mean mostly Margie, spent some time updating the debt service portion of this, right? This is kind of a picture of our outstanding debt. If you look at last year's, this blue portion that says the state RLF was considerably less of a percentage, but now, once you take out a $43 million loan, it becomes a major part of your overall debt, and that's why that blue portion has gotten much bigger. Geo bonds has changed very little, as well as the other. Actually, all of the others have changed not very much. So. This was just a little. This graphic was just a what does it look like as a percent of our net assessed value, and how much is our debt per capita. These are just statistics that like bond councils look for and others look forward to. You want to talk?
Yeah, so this is it almost looks like a waste of paper if you look at this chart for too long, but it's extremely important. We're limited on the amount of geo debt that we can put out there. It's based on a percentage of our assessed valuation. So as our assessed valuation grows, we are allowed to put more and more geo debt on the books. But of course, as I think you all know, the more debt we put on the books, the more that we have to raise the property tax and other sources to pay for that debt. So this is just a way, one thing I was always trained when I was much younger was to think of your debt as a credit card. And what you don't want to do is run your operating off of your credit card, and you don't want to max it out. So this is a pretty good reflection of how we've managed debt in the city. The red line is the geo bonds that we currently have, and the black, the red area, excuse me, the black line is what we were allowed by the state based on that formula. So the white space between there is our ability to respond to an emergency. Heaven forbid we have a tornado, we have a flood, we have a huge massive loss in infrastructure and or public buildings. We could always whip out that credit card, we could always go out for that debt, and we could always take care of that and not just, because insurance is obviously only going to cover so much. But this is an important chart, and it's something that's consistently looked like this from year to year, so thank you all for your leadership on that. And here's this is one of my favorite charts, this is cumulative debt. Each one of these colors reflects a different debt category. You've got, on the left side, you've got the millions of dollars, and on the bottom, you've got years. So as you go out, you can see what our responsibilities are. That huge blue area is obviously the KDH&E loan that we just took out for the wastewater plant. And as you can tell, that line doesn't really go down after a while. I think the most important thing about that is we don't want to burden all the local taxpayers today and for the next 10 years with a plant that's going to serve us for half a century, hopefully, if it's built right, which I believe it will be. So we stretch that debt out, and then people in future generations can help pay for it as well. The red, I believe, is the capital leases. And as you can see, the good news is, with the exception of that blue, everything on there has an expiration date. I think we do a good job of managing our debt. We don't want to burden anybody that's going to come after us with a bunch of debt for projects that we thought were important that weren't going to serve them. But once again, you take that big new loan off of there, and the whole thing goes away in about 2036, so in about 10 years.
And these are just the kind of showing where the debt service how the debt service payments look. They go up. You want to look at kind of a crescendo. 2028, the debt service payments go up, and then they start going back down again. By 2033, they're less than planned than what they are this year. So, just to show you that's kind of the nature of the debt service payments, how it works.
So here's something we look at every year extensively, our reserves. Very critical that we have that 16% or 2 month worth of expenditures as our reserve limit. And this is very volatile. We use reserves for economic developments, we use them for emergencies. And so when I first got here, I think we were well below that threshold. And we've made some hard decisions, the commissions before you, and you look at the mill every year and what we need to do. And we've had a couple of mill increases over the last 15 years, but every time it was basically, the first time was to address the reserves. And so that's how much we think of them. This is another, we've got a couple of charts left, we'll be through this. This is the general fund operating reserves. The red line is our goal. That's our minimum. If we go below that, we definitely need to, take a hard look at what our tax rates are and what our spending is. It kind of looks like a shark fin. The tip of that shark fin is last year. And then that huge dip that you see is the result of taking the gaming revenue that we had built up since the casinos had opened and contributing that to the economic development project that was Gorilla Rising. So while we came down, we still have plenty of reserve left after that. It drops again this year. I think that's 2025.
Yes.
And then we're projecting it to stay above the line and gradually increase at a rate that we think is sustainable and that'll keep us in a good way. Public utility, Chuck, this is your question. So, we've been increasing it for the last few years, getting ready for the big spend down. And we are in fact here, and this year we were planning on having about a $3 to $4 million spend down in there. But as we got the debt schedule and looked at it, we thought, well, why don't we just not increase the rates by 15%? Let's leave them at 3. And then as you can see, as you get out to 2027, 2028, that's when you take that first big $2 million spend down. And if we could continue this graph out, there will be another $2 million spend down the year after that, and perhaps another one. But we always want to keep our eye on that red line and make sure that we're well above it. And if we don't, I think that's the time we would have to consider that one-time increase to get things back up to where they are. But I just think, Jay was right on. We were looking at it, and he's like, it just seems like it's premature to do it this year. So that's the change you'll see in the budget that we're going to present next.
And my thinking there was, because the reserves have performed so well over recent years, we could afford to forego a significant increase and kind of do the analysis again next year to see where we are. We'll just do it on a yearly basis to see how close we are to that red line, make sure we're going to keep ourselves above it. So we're not going to do a large rate increase this year. One will likely be coming, all right, but it might be next year or the next year. Maybe we can spread it out over a couple of years as well.
And I do want to acknowledge, Pete's our engineer, and I know sometimes we wonder what engineers do, but Pete's great at doing this rate analysis. So we took the new plant and we can lay it out and we can talk about the dollars that it's going to take to maintain all the new pump stations and everything that we're adding. All that goes into this formula. And so I do think we're going to come back and probably ask the state, Matt was talking about this with us the other day, ask the state for another $4 million for one more of the pump stations that we can just, quite frankly, we'd rather pay for it as part of that 30-year loan than take it out of cash right now. So that'll be maybe the last thing that you hear about the plant as far as funding. But overall, pretty confident that this is going to get us at least 7 or 8 years down the road and see where we are with rates at that time.
So I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
This may have been in the document already, but in general, what are we budgeting for just rates of inflation? Materials and supplies?
Well, 2% this
Okay.
year, all right? Although it's probably going to be a little bit more than that. But right now, we budgeted 2% for next year.
Okay, thank you.
Chuck?
Yeah, I was just looking at this, the best hotel in the business school downtown. We used money from the casino money that we had for 10 years or something? I don't know how long it's been there.
Yeah, it was 10.
So could we use casino money down the line for the wastewater treatment plant or?
After that 10 years?
Yeah.
Assuming the casino's still here, which I hope it is. Yeah, it's unallocated. It always has been, and this is the first thing we've ever allocated it to was we thought, we really wanted to make sure that the project didn't use a bunch of tax money. So Jay has been a very aggressive investor the last couple years, and we went from about $25,000 a year in an interest income to over $1 million a year. So we took.
It's because interest rates have been better, guys.
I was going to give you my portfolio.
No.
Yeah, right.
This is, I just invest in CDs. It's just.
That Bitcoin's really working. Well, we can't invest in Bitcoin. But so between the gaming revenues, which is a non-tax, and the interest income, we were able to make that healthy contribution to those projects and not have to tie up a bunch of property
But
tax.
have we pledged future casino to Gorilla Rising? Or did
We've pledged 10 years.
Okay.
And we gave, I think, $2.5 million up front that we had saved, and then we pledged up to $400,000 a year for the balance for, I think, 8 or 9 years. But after that, it becomes free and clear again.
And it's been shockingly consistent, except for COVID year. It's been very consistent every year, the casino income. You like to do this?
Okay, so this is where we bring it all home. The summary recommendation, obviously, you all have seen this. We're very conservative. We show our expenditures fully funded, all positions fully funded for the upcoming year with the full-time people who are getting the raises. And then on the other side, we try to be conservative with our revenues. If you do that, you usually land in a good place by the end of the year. The assumptions we used for this were, in front of you, sales tax is 2.5% growth. This valuation is projected to grow 7% in 2026. And like I said, half of that is cost of living on what we all own. The other half of it is new growth and remodels. All other revenue is basically flat for the most part with some inflationary increases. The minimal charge is retirement costs. We have to do, that capers, all the capers and KPF comes from the state. They tell us what we have to put into those systems. Work comp and our insurance is usually about 3%. It looks like 2% annually in 2026 and then 3% for the last 4 years of the plan. And then contractual commodities expenses are projected to increase by 2% and then 3% for 27 through 29. So pretty consistent, and that brings us to the last thing, which is our recommendations for the upcoming budget that you're going to see. So we did land on 3% cost of living in 2026 and through 2029, and then obviously we would hopefully do that merit in 2027 and 2029 to make that a 4% increase. But that'll come up to you every year, and you can make that decision based on revenues. The debt service fund, the mill, like I said, it's just consistent. We like to keep it at the same rate. So we're showing that for the 4 years going out, and then increase utility rates by the 3%. And there will be no change to the mill rate. There's no change to the mill rate in the 5-year forecast numbers that we just presented to you. We just show it flat. Any questions on that? And thank you for your guidance on it. I know it's a big document and you have to listen to it twice, but we always think it's important to present it publicly for everybody else to hear it once before the budget.
Questions for Jay or Darren?
This will be online tomorrow with the submitted budget that we're about to present as well, for anybody that wants to go through it.
Maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but according to the schedule, September 9th, we'll hold a revenue neutral rate. So our mill levies now is 51 mills?
I think it's 50.89, yeah, right there, 51's.
I'll go up here and find it for you.
50.854, right?
Make everybody dizzy. Don't look at this. Don't look at this.
Page
I'm coming.
6.
I'm coming.
Drum roll.
Drum roll. There it is. Sorry. This is the bill rate here.
That's just the cities,
For the
though. Or that's,
cities, yeah.
excuse me, that's just the general funds. There you go.
This is all of them.
We're at 50.854. Commissioner Martel.
And then, do you know what the mill levy is for the revenue neutral rate?
Yeah, it's almost exactly 7 mills less than that.
Could you
Which-
explain why is that?
Well, sure, this is where, this kind of led to the last 2 weeks of head knocking, because, I mean, I know we're doing great economically, but that sounds like a lot. And so we were obviously prepping all of you to help us, we always want to, we need the tax money, but at the same time, it's like 7 mil increase sounds like we have a huge assessed valuation growth, which we did. When we broke down the numbers with the help of the county and with Margie's team, you basically have the assessed valuation from the previous year. Then you have new growth, which is somebody builds something new and it's not tax exempt, they have to pay taxes. Then you have the remodels. Then you also have a category that they throw in called the change of use, which last year's budget, we had $171 million worth of assessed valuation. There was about $400,000 that was change of use. Well, this year it was 16,027,000, I think 358, because I stared at it for so long, I actually know it. It was $16 million, and that was driving, that's in the county's budget tax form to us. So after looking into that number, one thing, we all took guesses right off the cuff of what it would be. It turns out the hospital sold this year. So the hospital is nonprofit, so their paperwork hasn't been filed for Mercy. So it's showing up on the tax rolls right now. But that's probably $800,000 worth of tax, or how many mills do we think that was? Was that about 3.5 mills of that 7 mil, that's the difference, was the hospital. Well, by the time the year ends, the hospital's paperwork will be filed, they will be tax exempt, and we won't be able to spend, we won't have that property tax. So once you take that out, you're back to the remaining piece that we're talking about, which is the 7% increase, and that half of that is the 3.5% that's everybody's property, and the other 3.5 is that new model, or that new property and remodels. So took us a while to figure that one out, but yeah, it's easily explainable. And quite frankly, we could have left it in the submitted budget, but we would have an $800,000 revenue problem in January, because I've talked to the hospital, and they're definitely gonna submit the paperwork, and I'm sure it'll be approved for,
So, yeah, we wouldn't budget on that
yeah.
7,
It would have been a mistake to budget on that.
well, so what was the reason that was
That's-
left? Is they didn't
That's just
get it
how they
done?
do it. They've got a worksheet, I'm assuming, that comes from the state that tells everybody how to show their taxes, and it's just, to them, they're sending out tax notices to everybody in the county, telling us, oh, by the way, this one part of your form, which is usually 400,000, is 16 million, you may want to keep an eye on it. They didn't sell us that going in. Now, when we called them and walked through it, they were very generous and came back and backed it out and explained what it was. But it's their job to show it like that. It's a matter of timing in the calendar, and it's our job to figure out what we're looking at so we don't make a stupid mistake in the budget.
I mean, legally, the county did what they were supposed to do. It's on the rolls, they projected it to us, they did what they were legally required to do. But we know, and from talking with them and with the hospital, that that's not going to be on the rolls come the end of the year, which means we won't realize that revenue. So we felt strongly that we had to make the adjustment.
Right. I just want people to know that the budget's not with the hospital included,
That's true.
budgeted without,
You are correct. You're correct.
yeah.
Anything else, Chuck? Did you have another question?
No.
Okay. I've lost track where we are.
You don't have to accept that. I mean, you don't have to take any action on the 5-year. It's just a presentation.
So now we're moving into the presentation of the city manager's submitted to 2026 budget.
Do we have budgets?
We have budgets. Now, it would be really wrong of me not to express appreciation for literally Darren and I were up last night making changes to this. So it is and we.
It's hot off the press.
And we were, literally, it's probably still warm. We were making changes right up to the last minute, so, but we wanted, the reason we were making those changes to the submitted budget was that we wanted it to reflect as much reality as possible. We did have more information available, and we wanted to reflect that in the budget as it's submitted to you.
Okay, if you'll bear with me, best practice is I'll just read the budget message, and then this budget will sit until we have the hearing August 12th, and then we will obviously listen to your feedback and the people that come to talk about it at the budget hearing, and then we'll have to adopt it September 9th, I think is what Jay said. So let me see if I've got the right version here. So, Honorable Mayor and City Commission, I present the City of Pittsburgh's 2026 submitted budget for your consideration. It actually totals $74,726,135, and that will be corrected. It is structurally balanced in the funds, the services, and projects which maintain our quality of life in Pittsburgh. The 2026 will be unprecedented in our recent history. Our community will simultaneously celebrate Pittsburgh's 150th birthday while our nation celebrates its 250th birthday. The Best Hotel reached a milestone of its own, turning 100 years old. And as part of the Guerrilla Rising project, the renovation will return the Best to a condition not seen since 1926 when it first opened. The current momentum Pittsburgh is experiencing will carry us into 2026 as manufacturers, retailers, developers, and local governments build needed infrastructure, new facilities, and expansions to meet the growing needs of our community. We are truly fortunate for this growth. Maintaining a structurally balanced organization is an imperative for our city. Our revenues are the results of taxes and fees Therefore, our commission and staff make decisions to grow our community while not overburdening our taxpayers. This 2026 submitted budget does not recommend an increase to the city's mill rate, remaining at the same level as it was in 2018. While the assessed valuation in the county continues to grow, it is at a rate that we believe is sustainable. Our local economy remains robust thanks to thriving businesses and industries, ensuring the revenue growth needed to maintain and improve on our services. The projected increase in assessed valuation is 7%. Only half of that is approximately 3.4%, which I've mentioned at least 3 times today, comes from the higher valuations and existing real estate. The remaining increase is driven by new construction and property remodels. Notably, the assessed valuation growth attributable to new construction has increased once again to 2.5 times what it did last year. And while the value for remodels has doubled over that same period as well. Sales tax proceeds, which are the major source of revenue in the general fund, are growing due to a strong economy. The city's portion of the sales tax rate in Pittsburgh has not changed since 2018, when it dropped from 1.75% to 1.5% that it currently is today. We project the revenue to grow at 2.5% in 2026. The 2026 submitted budget includes a 3% increase to utility fees to keep up with the cost of living. Our most precious resource within our organization is our employees. We have a 3% raise plan for 2026, and for the 9th consecutive year, the plan does not include an increase in health insurance contributions by our employees. We have exceptional employees in the city, and will continue to invest in them to provide the key services that make Pittsburgh a special place to live and work. Our employees work hard, they find solutions to real problems, and they show up at all hours of the day and night to meet the demands of our growing community. We are proud of their commitment and appreciate their efforts. Reviewing how an organization spends its money provides an understanding of our priorities. More than half of our expenses citywide, $23 million, will pay for public safety and public works services. These programs include police and fire, water, wastewater, stormwater, trash, streets and traffic, sidewalks, and lighting. Over 40% of these costs are for personnel. $4 million are committed to numerous parks and recreation services in 2026. With the help of our philanthropic community, we make an annual effort to enhance and maintain our park assets. In 2026, we will continue the work at Lincoln Park, including improvements to the Band Dome and Lincoln Center, additional cart paths at Four Oaks Golf Course, upgraded features at the Aquatic Center, and replacing playground equipment. The debt portion of our property tax will remain at 8 mills, allowing us to sell general obligation bonds in the spring on schedule. Periodically selling bonds allows us to address larger projects which are too expensive to pay for with operating funds. During 2026, we will complete construction of the new Eagle Pitcher facility, while simultaneously witnessing the construction of the National Institute for Materials Advancement Prove-Out facility right next door on Pittsburgh State's campus, and the new KBI, Kansas Bureau of Investigation's Regional Crime Lab and Training Facility. These 3 projects are located adjacent to one another on Research Road and have a combined value of more than $80 million. We appreciate the opportunity to serve the Pittsburgh community. The city is proud of our growth and thankful for playing a role during such an important time in our history. We work hard to support the families who live here and the workers and visitors who spend time here. 2026 will be a significant milestone for both Pittsburgh and our nation. The 2026 submitted budget reflects our continued investment in families and businesses with a focus on safety, growth, and opportunity for all. We appreciate your leadership and invite your consideration of this detailed budget over the next few weeks. Respectfully, the staff. And thanks, Margie and the team. It has been a crazy 3 weeks, but Margie is actually the firm that we've contracted with to help our finance department run smoothly, and her team is wonderful, and our actual finance team is great. We're very fortunate right now. There's a lot going on, but I couldn't be more proud of the employees in the city right now, and this budget, I think, is going to support them as they support the community. So thanks, and we're happy to answer any questions or wait until the 12th of August.
I do have a quick question. The 3 projects you mentioned, I know that obviously we have a relationship with Eagle Pitcher, and we also contributed money to KBI, but we have not been asked to provide anything for the prove-out facility.
No, I think that entire thing was funded through
Appropriation.
federal, yeah.
Okay.
But don't give them any ideas.
Well,
So the
Well, I won't
KBI
say.
will be completed too? and-
One way to, yeah, but to Don, yeah, to your question though, we are going to contribute, so all three of those projects are right next to each other and they all drain. Right now, the pond where they drain to is the future site of the KBI facility. So, obviously, we're in the utility business, we usually help with those projects, but we don't go in and put in retention solutions for every new business that comes in. That's kind of on them. But with the fact that they're all going downhill through our property, we've kind of gone through and decided which building is contributing to what part of that drainage, and then the retention solution will be across the street in that low area. That will be dug out, a new pipe will go in. We will participate in that retention pond solution in conjunction with KBI, because we do want to support the university and the city's project. If I said that wrong, I'm sure somebody would be standing up
and
waiting.
if we don't support it, it'll end up being our problem anyway. If it's
Well,
not
yeah,
fixed.
water runs downhill right now, we all know
That's
that,
us.
so, good question.
Everything's
Sorry, Chuck,
eventually
did
our
I,
problem.
did I cut you off, or did I?
Oh, no, I had just heard that the KBI might be behind schedule or not. It's gonna be done in 2026 also.
They are being very patient with our design and construction of the facility next to them, which is the Eagle Pitcher. So they've just been kind of in lockstep with us, and I think Matt's, this week, Henry and Matt made the final revisions to maybe the architect agreement that was the final piece, and then there's a groundbreaking coming up for Eagle Pitcher maybe Thursday.
Thursday, July 24th at 10 o'clock.
And I believe the KBI is gonna get going, hopefully, once that happens, so, good question.
Okay, so going back to the budget schedule, just so we can review.
Now that you have a budget, I think it's still on page 3.
Yeah. So, so the budget discussion, which will also include, the budget discussion, which will be for us, is August 12th, and then September 9th would be 2 different public hearings, one on the revenue neutral rate and one on the budget.
As well as the adoption of the budget
of
that
the
night,
budget.
too.
Okay, just to be clear for everyone. So, okay. Any other questions for Darren and Jay? Great. Any non-agenda items? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I did have
yeah.
one thing I just thought of. I'd like to say thank you to Crawford County Sheriff's Department, Pittsburgh Police Department. I understand they busted a drug house in the south part of town. I know neighbors in that subdivision had come to us with issues that were going on there. I don't know how long ago that was, but it sounds like hopefully, maybe that will stop happening there. They did a good job working together.
Thank you. All right, motion to adjourn? Come on, guys. I move we adjourn. Is there a second? Moved by Dawn, second by Cheryl. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Great, thank you, and thank you. Hey.